therapy. Nancy's Riot podcast about positivity, being strong, get survival, mental health, helping each other and overcoming life's challenges. Psycho like a lab, I'll this to be a hurt, hey. Chasing me is everything to the load alone, hey. I'll let go and chase out of it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you once again for your time and being here with me this evening, because you could have chosen to be anywhere else. And as I've said before, nothing costs as much as your time. So once again, thank you so much for being here with me tonight. And I am so excited to introduce my guest, Elisha Meek. Elisha, welcome to Nancy's Riot.
Thank you. So happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm so happy that you're here. I've been dying to see you and just talk to you. Elisha and I go back over a decade, and you and I, we know each other professionally, and I know that you ventured out on your own when you created your creative cereal treats with your mom.
Yes.
So before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about that and how you started that process, and then we'll get into where we are today.
Of course. Yes. Thank you so much, Nancy. I'm so happy to be here. And as Nancy said, it's been over a decade since we've known each other, and thank you for bringing me in. And I started my first small business over 7 years ago, while I was still working my full-time career. Mm-hmm. And it was a cereal treat business making creative cereal treats like Rice Krispie treats, but we had over 40 different flavors. And it was my mom, my sister, and I who started out. And for those that know me, find it very funny because the kitchen and I are not very good friends. I don't bake, I don't cook, but I did the business side, and my sister and my mom did all the baking. And it was an incredible experience to be working full time and then start a small business on the side, be operating both at the same time. I never quit my full-time career while operating this business. It ran for about 5.5 years, became very successful. We had some incredible clients that bought and sold our treats. Unfortunately, the only reason I closed it was when my mom passed away, and it was just, I tried to continue on without her, but it didn't have the same impact and feeling as when I created it. So yes, it was an incredible experience, and will give the reason of why I'm writing my next book, which I know we're going to talk about, but it is the whole reason why I'm writing the book.
I'm so sorry to hear about your mom.
Thanks, Nancy.
I'm so sorry to hear that. What did that experience teach you about yourself? And I'm sure spending that time with your mom.
So thank you for asking. My mom was more than that to me. She was my best friend. And at that time, she was my business partner. And of course, my mom, the one constant in my life, my mom. And losing her was probably the darkest time of my life. And it was unexpected, which hurt a lot more. And I will say that she survived cancer. She survived 4 heart attacks. And to lose her to a just very routine surgery was unexpected. So it was a shocker in life. Losing her honestly made me feel really alone, even though I have friends and family and my husband, but she was, again, my one constant in my life. And it probably took about 6 months for me to fully recover from losing her.
Wow. How did you pick yourself up after that?
I know this sounds silly, but I turned to my dogs. My dogs are my life. I love them. And I spent a lot of time with them. My mom loved my dogs more than her other grandkids. Sorry about that. And so I spent a lot of time with them. Healing. That's okay. Yeah, no problem, Erin. That was a lot of it went into writing. So what's really interesting, I know we're going to talk about my second book. When I was writing my first book, Nancy, no one knew about it. Not even my husband. No one knew I was writing it except my mom. My first book.
Oh, really?
Yes. I kept it very secret, and she got to read the final copy before she passed away. So to me, that's very, very special. And once she passed away, I still tried to continue the cereal treat business without her because she was so passionate about it, but it just, again, didn't feel the same. So I closed the business, and the very next day I published my first book. And I knew that she always wanted me to be a writer. And so I felt to honor her, I would continue writing. I closed the business and then started writing my second book.
What a beautiful story.
Thank you, Nancy.
Wow. That is so touching.
Thank you.
Your mom would be so proud. I know that she's proud.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
So nobody knew about your book?
Nobody. No, right before I went to publish it, I came to my husband, who I tell everything. And I said, hey, I have a secret. And he's like, and I'm like, I mean, a surprise. It's more of a surprise. It's not really a secret. And I said, I wrote a book. And he knew I journal, I write all the time, but he didn't know the full extent of it. And he said, and it was so funny, he said, is that what you've been typing away every night? Because I'm on the laptop at night, just typing away. And I said, yeah, I'm going to publish it. I did self-publishing. I used an organization to help me self-publish. And once I did, the feeling I got from publishing it, I knew that's what I was meant to do, was to write. And so now I'm writing my second one, which I know we're going to talk about. And I already have 3 more books in my head that as soon as I finish this one, I'll be on to the next one.
Oh, I am so excited to hear about it. Now, I know that you're launching your second book.
Yes.
Breakup With Burnout.
Yes.
And what's curious to me and that I wanted to touch on.
Okay.
And before we started recording, Elisha and I, because I have to tell you, although we've known each other for over a decade, because we've through professional careers.
Yes.
I always knew that there was a light to you.
Thanks, Nancy.
I didn't understand what it was, but there's a kindness that exudes from you. And I don't know if that's why you and I gravitated or connected, because in all honesty, it's not like we talk all the time. We just know you're there and I'm there.
Correct.
From the moment that we met. And I just want you to know that you sharing
Nancy?
these details about your mom and me, just because this is the first time I'm actually getting to know more about your life. And as I've stated to you guys, that these were going to be unedited conversations, raw. And that's what we want to bring to you. And thank you so much for sharing what you just have with me. And what a beautiful story. And how touching that your mom knew you were writing that book, and that to honor her memory.
Thank you.
You did that. That's very profound. So thank you so much for sharing that. But with your new book, Breakup With Burnout, what I'm curious about is how you came up with the name, and because you used the metaphor of a relationship. Mm-hmm. And as I was mentioning to you, I got out of an abusive relationship 4 months after brain surgery, which was May 25th, 2021, when I had brain surgery. I left him 4 months later. He became so abusive a week after we said I do. And I couldn't understand myself in the process. I just remember asking myself, did I change this much because of brain surgery, or is it me, or is it him? And when the fog started to clear, it really made me look at myself and wonder what would make me fall in love with somebody like him. And because I'd never bumped into anybody so cruel, and I realized when I was able to reflect that he was mirroring me. And as I mentioned to you, I fell in love with myself. Mm-hmm. And I found your book, because I'm part of your fabulous newsletter. So if you've not signed up, I recommend that you do that. You must do that. Run now and do it. But as I was saying, you touched on the metaphor about toxic relationships.
Yes.
And I think that so many times we as women and men do not talk about those things. So I found it very profound that you're touching on the different formats, because I've spoken on here about the 4 horsemen, stonewalling, defensiveness, the things that go with a toxic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious how you came up with a name. And then I also want to know, have you ever been in a toxic relationship?
I am so grateful to say no, I have not. I have been with the same man since I was 18 years old.
Congratulations.
And thank you. We're not married, no kids. Maybe that's why we stayed together so long. But I do reference him as my husband. But of course, we've had toxicity at times. Of course, I'm going to date myself, but in 25 years that we've been together, there's been ups and downs. But I've gratefully... I can say I've never been in a toxic relationship.
Okay.
As far as I have been with my career, which we'll touch on, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So because in Breakup with Burnout, you touched about the exhaustion, which just life in general, we can feel exhausted.
Yes.
So I'd like to know how you came up with the name.
Okay.
And what was the creative process behind the title and how you broke it down, because to me, I can relate it in the sense that I've been in an abusive relationship. So I see how it can burn you out and make you feel so exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
A career, if you're in a toxic environment, how it can make you feel exhausted and how it correlates in being in an abusive relationship. So it kind of ties in. And like I said, we'll talk about it in a little bit about the men. But how did you come up with the name, and what was the creative process behind the name?
Thank you. This is interesting because the book, Breakup with Burnout, is my personal experience, how I broke up with burnout in my career. And most people, Nancy, they associate burnout with work. But as you just mentioned, burnout can be anything that you are tying all your attention to for an extended amount of time that has you exhausted, depleted, bored, and not giving you the purpose that it once gave you. So that could be a career, a relationship, parenthood. Some of the people I've spoken to, they're burnt out of parenthood, education. There's so many things that you can be burnt out of. And as I've dug deep with a lot of people, I've had so many conversations when doing research for this book of people experiencing burnout. And what I've experienced is, and you touched on it, is it's not always about the external factors. It's about what's going on in your mind and what you're associating to the burnout experience. And for example, with my career that I've been at for almost 2 decades now, there was a time where I spent 3 years in burnout. 3 full years.
Wow.
In burnout. And Nancy, the interesting thing is I didn't know I was in burnout at the time. I'm learning this years later in life as I'm writing this book. And it was, and this is what my experience was. It was dread going to work every day, not feeling a sense of purpose or fulfillment in the job that I was doing. It was exhaustion, as you said it, working many, many hours a week. But it really wasn't about the time that I was spending there. It was the lack of satisfaction I was getting out of what I was doing. Yes, there was external factors, a very micromanaging boss. The workload was 60 plus hours a week, but it was really what I was feeling in that moment. I was not happy in what I was doing anymore. And yes, a lot of people think they have a toxic relationship with their career, with the job itself, but I think it is the feeling that you have when you're going to work every day. So my breakup with burnout moment and the reason that catalyzed this book was a day in my career where I did not get a promotion that I thought I was going to get, a well-deserved, in my opinion, promotion after 3 years of working up to this moment. And the day I did not get it was the exact day that I decided to start a small business with my sister and my mom on the side. And so I was tying my entire identity to my job. And I think that's what happens in relationships. And Nancy, I'm sure you can
Yes.
attest to this. When you get into a relationship, especially in the beginning when it's fun and you're in love and you're just so cloud nine with each other, and your whole identity becomes them. It's no more just Nancy, it's Nancy and this person. And that's where burnout comes from, is you have nothing of your own. You don't have you anymore. You have you and this person. And that's how it was for me and a lot of professionals in high performing careers where their job is their only thing. They have nothing else. I mean, they have maybe children or spouses or friends, but their entire identity is their job. And I think that's what happens in relationships. So to answer your question, the process of what I went through made me realize that being in this state of mind at work was like being in a toxic relationship. It was unsatisfied with not having anything for yourself. You were just tying your identity to something that was no more giving you the satisfaction it once did.
So what did you do to reignite that flame with your relationship, with your career?
It's so interesting. And Nancy, so crazy. So the moment I had the idea for starting a small business, and it came to me in an interview. I'm a recruiter. And when I was interviewing this young lady, right after I was told I wasn't getting a promotion, the young lady, I asked her, what is her dream career? And she told me that she wanted to open a small business, a bakery with her family. And for some reason, that was a lightning bolt to me. I had just graduated college with a business degree. And I thought, I could do that. I want to start a business, a bakery with my family. My mom, my sister, and I were addicted to sugar. We always have. My mom and my sister always made desserts growing up. And I thought, I can do that. And Nancy, this crazy thing happened. As soon as I took all the focus off of my career and gave it to something else, I fell back in love with my career. Because it wasn't everything. It wasn't, when you're in burnout, especially in a career, you take everything so personal. Right? You get that email from your boss that really has no meaning. Forced. Yes, it doesn't feel forced. It feels natural and it feels good because I had something else to give my attention and energy to that was all mine. And it made me fall back in love with my career.
What a beautiful way to explain it.
Thank you.
I had never thought about it in that perspective. And you make such a valid point because also the one thing that and I don't know if you'll agree with this, and I'm curious to find out your thoughts on this, is that I feel one of the reasons in relationships, and you can help me understand this, how this would correlate in a business sense, that one of the reasons I feel that relationships end is because you stop doing the little things at the beginning that made you fall in love with that person. And just as you mentioned, at the beginning, you're on cloud nine, you're starting a new career, you can't wait to get your benefits and whatever perks that might come with the job position. So how would you say that you can keep that consistency the way that you can in a relationship to maintain that flame and continue being in love with that person and not take them for granted just because you're 10 years into the relationship or 10 years into the career?
Can I just say I love that you use the word flame because we're talking about burning out.
Yes.
So I just love that you use the word
because
flame.
I want to feel the burn without the burnout.
I love that. I love that.
Because
Quote Nancy on that. That was very well said, Nancy. And I think, and so well said, and I'm going to correlate this to career and a relationship, and how to keep the flame alive and not burn out is to not lose yourself in that person or that career. Again, when you are starting in that career or the relationship, just like we were talking about, it's all about them. You have blinders on, right? Nothing else matters. You don't want to hang out with your friends anymore.
No.
You don't want to see family. You only want that person. You are so in love with that person or that job. It's just all about them. And it's hard to do things outside of that. And I want to say that, and I will say, after being in a relationship for so long, and we're the happiest we've ever been, we've been through ups and downs, we're the happiest we've ever been. And I think it's because we live separate lives together. We have, we've never shared a bank account. We have our own finances. We have our own hobbies, our own lives outside of each other.
Yeah.
And we respect that about each other, and we love each other. And I think it's the same way with a career. Instead of putting everything into that career, you have to keep a piece of yourself for you.
And I find it so fascinating when I hear you say that, because I cannot begin to tell you how many conversations I have throughout the different hats that I've worn throughout my career, whether it's military, political, humanitarian, philanthropic, our career paths, telecom. The one thing that I have found is that toxicity that you're always going to bump into, no matter what career you're in, and how do you overcome those hurdles. And I found it so fascinating in your book how, again, you use the metaphor of the relationship, because it is a way that everybody can understand and relate it to and say, I feel like this at my job. And is it my job, or is it the career? Is it the career, or is it the job? So it really makes you go into that logic form and really make your brain turn those wheels and really look at what is burning me out. What is causing the exhaustion.
Yes. And Nancy, most of it, and a lot of us aren't going to want to hear it, but most of it is themselves is what's causing it. So we like to attach burnout to external factors. Oh, I have a hardworking boss, or I don't like my colleagues. My job is too hard. I work too much. But most of it is coming from within. Most people that experience burnout, in my experience, because I've talked to a lot of professionals, and these are people that are very high performing. They are overcommitting. They say yes to everything, right? I know you are, because you're very high performing. You say yes to everything. You don't set up boundaries for yourself. You're a people pleaser.
Yes.
Yep. You have to make everyone like you. You have this fear of not being a team player. So you're going to...
And you feel guilty.
The guilt?
The guilt.
Yeah, I talk about in the book.
Yeah, the
you
guilt.
You feel guilt. You feel fear. You are overcommitting. You're a people pleaser. And you don't... you put yourself on this pedestal that you don't want to come down from.
Right.
And that is what causes the burnout.
It does.
It is. And it's time when you finally are able to say, no, I'm not going to work on that project right now because my bandwidth is full. That's where the burnout starts to fade, and it's hard to do. I believe me, it took years to work on myself to be able and I'm all those things. I'm a people pleaser. I'm an overcommitter,
we all are,
perfectionist. Yes. Yeah. Controlling. Yeah. I'm a control freak. I'll admit it. And it really takes work on yourself to be able to relinquish those habits that we've grown, those characteristics, because that's what causes burnout. And again, I said this before, but yes, there are external factors that weigh into it, but most of it's internal. And I think that's a great thing, because we can work on the internal.
Right.
We can't control the external, but we can control the internal.
And the internal is the hard part.
It is. The harder part.
The harder part, because we only have so much control of how the other person reacts or what they say to us. And internally, it's, we might be heated, or it may just have gone over our heads, but how we react to it, it's really going to matter in the fundamental at the end of the day. And what's going to give you that burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to choose, I want to break up with it.
Yes.
Or you continue on that burnout
Exactly.
path, right?
Right. You have to be able to change, which is one of the hardest things to do.
It is.
But without change, there's no change.
Yeah, and I think that your book really touches on that, and it really makes you look at yourself and really make a checklist of accountability and what you're doing, what you're not doing, and areas in your life that you can improve to break up with burnout.
Absolutely.
And also before we continue, I wanted to tell people the numbers that's watching right now. If you have any questions for Elisha and I, Aaron, can we put the numbers up and open up the lines? So then that way, if anybody has any questions with anything that they've heard so far.
Okay. Love that.
Call in. So if USA 702-329-6947, and if you are international, 1-855-502-4321, and in Canada, 587-997-3200. I know a lot of you are snowed in, iced in, so I hope that you're watching. Call us. We're taking questions. They can't go anywhere.
I know.
Unfortunately, I hope they're keeping warm.
Same.
Because you have it on my mind. I know that so many people right now. So I hope that nobody does lose power, and that you're keeping warm, and that you've taken the precautions. And so if you have any questions, once again, if you're in the USA, 702-329-6947, international, 1-855-502-4321, and in Canada, 587-997-3200. And while we wait to see if any questions come in, I will also, because you're coaching,
yes,
I am incredibly excited to hear about your coaching because of your book. And like I said, one of the things too that I wanted, as I mentioned to you, that I have, which has been interesting the last few weeks, I've been having some really profound conversations with men.
Okay.
And I think, and I'd love to get your opinion on this, that it hasn't been until recently that men have been opening up to me about burnout.
Okay.
And abuse that they've have found themselves in relationships with women. And I have found that men are less vulnerable and willing to open up about their emotions or what they've been through, because to a degree there's a stigma.
Sure.
That men can't express themselves or cry, and I have found men crying on the other hand, and I find that it's easier to be vulnerable with strangers because there's no judgment, and you're not probably ever going to speak or see them again.
Yes.
So I'm curious to get your thoughts on what you think on what I've just stated to you, and with regards to your book.
Yes.
With Breakup with Burnout.
I love this, Nancy, because, and you're absolutely right. I think people are more able to be open with a stranger, or in a professional setting, say a therapist or a counselor. And part of my book that leads into coaching is I talk about one way to make sure you make change is by having an accountability partner, a person that can keep you accountable for the goals that you want to set for yourself. And one of the things I talk about is, yes, you want to involve your friends and your family and your mom and your sister to be your cheerleader, but to get a true accountability partner to make sure you make the progress, make sure it is someone that you don't know. Make sure it's a counselor or a mentor or a therapist, because they will give you the real feedback. They will make sure you stay accountable, and you're going to be more open with them. People, sometimes they feel that they're going to be, judged by their mom or their sister or their friend.
We do.
Yes, we do. It's natural. And a lot of it is protection as well. Your friends and your family, they're going to want to protect you, and, don't go down that route, or those goals are too big for you. But a real person that I'm going to say a stranger, which is a mentor or accountability partner, or a coach, which is why I started coaching, is to be able to help people effectively make change without the judgment and without the bias, and let them be vulnerable, because I am a stranger to them. And I have worked with a couple clients so far in my coaching, and to see them make breakthroughs is just such a rewarding thing, not for so much for me, but for them, and for them to be vulnerable. I will say mine are all women. Mm-hmm. However, I have spoken with professional men as well that are experiencing burnout in the workplace, mm-hmm. but I'm sure they can associate that with a relationship as well. But it does allow someone, to your point, Nancy, to be vulnerable when it's not a friend or family member.
Yeah, because I would be curious, and I recommend men to also read Breakup with Burnout and to become members of your newsletter, yes. to start educating themselves mm-hmm. on what it does have to offer, because I'm finding that a lot of men can use a lot of the information that
Absolutely.
Your book brings, mm-hmm. In the privacy of their own home, mm-hmm. and to start having those discussions, honest and raw conversations mm-hmm. where people can be vulnerable. And why I created this podcast, and I'm so grateful that you're here bringing your knowledge and talking about this, and which leads me into the question about your coaching. Okay. How did you decide and come about creating your coaching, and what tools do you bring to everyday life that you can share with me that you're currently implementing in your everyday life and that others could implement in their everyday life?
I love this, Nancy. Thank you so much for asking, because the coaching really came about right after I closed the business. It was, shortly after my mom passed, mm-hmm. I had closed the business, and I was starting to write the second book, Breakup with Burnout, which I will admit I didn't have the title for yet. I knew that I wanted to help corporate professionals get out of that feeling of distress. I didn't have the Breakup with Burnout title. That came later. But I found one of my friends was starting her own coaching business, mm-hmm. and she helped me connect with another coach who coaches coaches. Oh. And she helped me really work through what I was experiencing in my past in the corporate world to really get the outline for the book. And she helped me realize, and she helped me in a way that I wanted to help others. So her coaching made me want to be a coach, and a writer first, but then coaching based on the content that I'm writing. And what she helped me work through, along with a previous therapist I used to see, was, to your question about things I do in my daily mm-hmm. life, is I started at a very high level. I think when you're starting something new, a goal or a relationship or a career, there's so much to think about that I try to put it at a very high level and then break it down. So I think about, I want to focus on three things, and that's my brain, my body, and my soul. So first I focus on my brain, where I meditate every single day. I think happy thoughts. I don't allow toxicity in my brain anymore. I really learn to control my mind. I'm using my control freak to a positive in my life, and being able to control what comes into our brain, because I think there is a lot of negativity out there, and a lot of people let it just resonate in their brain, right. and they don't release it. So I work on my brain first, and then I work on my body, which is, in the physical world, making sure I exercise, making sure I take action. So the things that I'm thinking in my brain, talk about my book. If I just kept it in my brain, it would never be a physical book. So taking it from the brain to making it an action in the real world.
And bringing it to life.
Yep. And then my soul, which I associate it, to my purpose, my fulfillment, my life, my love. And so really focusing, if I'm ever getting distracted and what should I do next, just really bringing myself back center to brains, body, and soul. And there's a lot more in depth. We really don't have the time. Maybe another time we can talk about it. But I do go into in depth in my book of how to use your brain, body, and soul to accomplish the goals that you're looking for.
What inspires you?
I am, and no surprise here, you know this, but I'm a dog lover. Mm-hmm. And my ultimate goal in life is to save as many homeless dogs as possible. So within 10 years, I feel that I will have, if not my own animal shelters open, I will help others. But my ultimate goal in life, the reason I do everything I do, is so I can give back to homeless dogs and save homeless dogs. That's what fulfills my heart.
That's what fulfills your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm learning something new about her because I did not know that about you. Wow. So how many dogs do you have now currently?
I have 2 German Shepherds at home, and they have been with us for 4 years now. And they're our children. My husband and I, we don't have children on purpose.
They're kids.
Yes,
they're kids.
They are.
Yeah,
they are.
Kids.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that has bonded my husband and I is our love of dogs, because he's crazy about dogs as I am. And so that is just what brings my heart joy in this life.
What are their names and what are their personalities like? Because I know that they must have each their own individual personalities.
It's so funny. Okay, so it's a boy and girl, and they were adopted. We don't know if they're brother and sister. We believe they are, so we call them brother and sister.
We can imagine they are. They are.
Yeah. The girl, her name is Hachi.
Hachi. Okay.
I named her, and the boy is Boyd.
Boyd. Okay.
Yeah, Boyd and Hachi.
So what are the names?
My husband, he named the boy, and that's the name he came up with, Boyd. And Hachi is a movie about a husky, and I won't go into detail, but it's an incredible story. You'll have to watch it, or anyone watch it. It's called Hachi. And
how do you spell it in case anybody's wondering?
Hachi.
Okay.
Hachi. Hachi. It's this incredible story. And they are exactly like us. So the girl dog is, I, of course, am very outgoing, very loud, very positive, very bubbly. I'm a social butterfly. The husband, who comes from the Marines, he is very stoic and quiet. And everyone always says we are perfect for each other because he never talks and I never shut up. And I think our dogs are just like that. So Boyd follows him around, and he's very quiet, very stoic. He rarely wags. And Hachi, the little girl dog, who's tiny and little, she is just like me. She's loud and wags all the time and happy. And it's just so bizarre how they've developed our personalities.
How cute.
And you're so sweet to ask about them, because I love talking about them. That's just so sweet.
Because to me, so I lost my miniature schnauzer. She passed away
Nancy.
December 19th, 2018. And I knew that she was passing because she stopped eating. And I would carry her outside to use the restroom, and she couldn't walk anymore. And I just remember the last day that she was with me, I had plans to go out to dinner with some friends. And I called and I canceled, and I said, I know that she's dying.
Oh, my heart.
And I said, so I want to spend as much time with her as possible, so I'm not going. And she had not eaten. So I grabbed food and I hand fed her last meal. And I just remember those big brown eyes looking up at me. And I knew that she was telling me she was going. And I just remember rubbing her head and telling her I loved her. And, I hand fed her last meal.
Oh,
and
my
I'll
goodness.
never forget that look in her eyes.
Oh.
And I went inside my bedroom, made some phone calls. Might have even no more than an hour, because I was going to let her out, carry her outside, and she had passed. And I just lost it.
Oh.
And I could not go to work for 2 weeks. And that pain, I still remember it like it was yesterday, that I've not want to put myself, I'm not prepared to feel that pain again. Because, and I don't think that we talk about that enough either, about how that does affect us. They are like our children, and I adored her, and she used to travel places with me, and I miss her every day. And it's been 8 years, and I'm just,
You still feel it.
I still feel it. And I had her cremated, have copies of her, imprints of her paws, some of her hair.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
yes.
her cremated, where she's with me everywhere. And yeah, I love Sadie. And so if people tell me, oh, some people have tried to convince me to get another dog, and I'm like, no, because I know I'm not prepared to give another dog the love that they deserve. And I think that it's such a beautiful thing that you're doing that, because so many animals are just left
Need homes.
Yeah, and
I
they're
know.
left to fend for themselves, and
I
it's
know.
and they can't, and I hope that I can help you reach that goal.
I will hold you to that, my friend. I will.
I
yes.
would, because it's something that I had never thought about it until now that you and I are having this conversation, to be honest. But if we can provide a safe haven for animals too, because a lot of them, they have no control of where they're going to end up, how they're treated.
I know.
And all they want is love.
Love. They have so well said, Nancy. And when I started my small business, the cereal treat business, we donated a portion of our profits to local animal shelters. And I've met some of the most amazing people that they spend their entire lives just giving back to animals. That's their entire life. And that's what they do. And there's some amazing organizations here, of course, nationally, but there are locally some incredible charities and animal organizations that are just incredible. And you're so right. That connection that we have with animals is just unworldly to me.
It is.
And people that have dogs and lose them, and that story right there is so profound, because that people that have that connection with their dogs when they pass, it is such a huge loss. And we've felt that, my husband and I, we've had many dogs together, and we've been together a very long time. So they have passed, unfortunately, dogs don't live as long as us. And each time we've lost one, the pain has been so severe. It's so hard to get another one. But that's what keeps us going, is there are so many out there that need homes. And yes, the pain is so hard, but the love that we had was more worth it.
It was worth it. Yeah. So what are some of the last things that you'd like to say to anybody listening, watching tonight, that you want us to walk away with your message and what you're bringing to the world, what you offer to the world with your knowledge through your books and your writing, which is your art?
Thank you, Nancy.
So I'd like to, I know how vibrant you are.
Thank you.
But I want everybody to know and hear how vibrant you are and what your message is and what you want to bring to the world with your books and offering them and self-publishing them, because that takes a lot of courage and strength. So I commend you on that. My
Thanks,
hat's off
Nancy.
to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The one thing, one
I'm
of the
proud
things.
of you.
Thank
I want you to know.
Thank you. I'm proud of you too. My goodness. And before I get into answering your question, I just want to reiterate that we, had a professional relationship,
Yes.
of course. And when I started writing this book again, and I reached out to you for support, and it was like we never left.
No.
I mean, it's been almost a decade since we spoke.
Yeah.
And it was like no time had even passed. So
Yeah.
that just makes me just love having you in my life, and
Me too.
A longtime friend now. But I think my one message, one of the messages, of course, is to adopt a dog today. That's, if you have a loving home. I appreciate some situations you can't, as you had mentioned, if you work a lot and you don't have the resources or time, then I understand. But of course, that would be my one message, is adopt a dog. The other thing I want to share is to learn how, and I talk about this in my first book, but more so in the second book, is to know that you can control the thoughts in your mind, right? So I think so many people, as we talked about earlier, is they let this negativity in their mind and they live and breathe on it. And people think, I hate my job, I hate this, I hate traffic. That is learned behavior that you can control. Happiness, I know this sounds so silly and so cliche, and people may roll their eyes, but happiness really does come from within.
It does.
It's a choice to be happy. It really is.
It is.
And yes, I understand that there are dire circumstances out there and there are a lot of people that may be in a really hard situation, but there's always something to be grateful for in this life. And I think, again, some people may roll their eyes, but I think choosing gratitude first for the things that you have, be grateful for what you have, and choose to be happy. Choose the thoughts that come in your mind and relinquish the bad ones that come in there. And again, I know it sounds silly, but happiness really is a choice.
And I know that you're working on launching your second book, and just from your coaching and what I've read, and from both just being part of your newsletter, which I think is so incredible. And again, I cannot tell you guys, sign up for her newsletter if you have not.
Thank you.
Would you like to give them the information where they can do that?
Yes, there is a link for joining my launch team, which is for my book. Yes, thank you so much. And it is, if you go to my website, elishameek.com, then I can send me a note through my website, and I will send you the launch link.
And the spelling, so to make sure that they get it right.
Yes, thank you so much, because it is a weird spelling. Thanks, Mom and Dad. First name is Elisha, ELISHAMEEK.com.
Yes.
Or you can email me, meek@elishameek.com.
Yes, and become a part of her newsletter. It's incredible.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
What I've gathered through your coaching, from what I've read in your book, is, leads me to this last question for you.
Okay.
Do you now have peace and peace of mind in your life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that you use the term peace of mind, because I talk about that repeatedly in the book, Breakup With Burnout.
Oh, gee. Okay.
Absolutely. Because when you are feeling burnout, thanks, Aaron. Appreciate you. He just put my website up. Thank you, Aaron.
There it is.
Yes. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron.
And shout out to Aaron for doing all this behind the scenes stuff that you guys don't see.
He's such an incredible producer. I cannot do this without Aaron.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. He's been wonderful. And peace of mind is what will get you out of burnout. And when you have an activity in your life that brings you joy, and that there's so many different things for so many different people. It could be photography, writing, art, scuba diving, and shout out to Kimber for scuba diving. There are so many different things that, that can bring you joy in your life. Pick the one that brings you joy and do it over and over. Even if you're working, even if you have kids, do something for yourself that brings you joy, and that will bring you peace of mind.
No, and I think your book, Breakup With Burnout, it's going to make you feel the burn without the burnout.
Yes, love that. Thank you,
and you're going to break
Nancy.
up with
yes,
it.
Thank
burnout.
you.
So thank you so much for being my guest tonight in this beautiful conversation. And I know that through your words, you're bringing what I say is gems. We have to find little gems throughout our lives and every day that make us happy.
Well said.
For us to keep ourselves in a positive mind frame, because it is so easy to wander off to the negativity. And because I feel that nowadays there is so much negativity in our everyday lives that we really do need to find those moments, because I can tell you that I've done so much work on myself that I finally have heard the loud silence, and that noise is so beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think your book is a gem to everybody who brings it in your coaching, and you bring so much light and vibrance into this world. And thank you so much for being my guest tonight.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
I just love being here. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation.
Yes, thank you.
I hope if you have any questions, again, you can go to elishameek.com. And we have a question? Okay.
It's Elisha. How has the process of writing this book helped you in your own ongoing battles?
Thank you. What a great question. As I was mentioning, everyone has something that brings them peace, and writing is that for me. I feel that it is therapy for me. So when I get to write, it is is something that brings me joy. And I know I'm writing not just for me, but for someone else. So when I'm writing, I feel like not only am I helping my own brain deal with the demons that are up here, I'm going to help someone else. And so knowing that I'm helping someone else in turn helps me. So what a great question.
So that brings you joy,
It
knowing
does.
that you're helping other people.
Mhm.
And you know, it's interesting that you say that real quick, because I had somebody ask me back in 2018
Okay.
why I do my humanitarian work for free. He said, I would never do any of that work that you do for free if I wasn't getting paid. And I said to him, well, we don't do it for the money. There's a look in somebody's eye when they know you're there to help, that's your payment. That's your reward.
Absolutely.
And I know, and I think you can understand that because of what you just said. Fast forward, I was the first phone call he needed when his family members were in a shooting. Yeah. So it's interesting that you say that. But yes, everybody needs an Elisha in their life, because you bring a certain gift to this world, and we all do. And
Agreed.
we all do. We just need to find that gift and be able to share it with the world. And thank you so much for sharing it with the world tonight.
Thank
with
you.
us. And is there any other questions, Aaron, before we say goodbye? Not yet? Okay.
No worries. Thank you.
thank
That was
you.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That was beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you, Nancy.
So, well, thank you everyone for your time tonight. And I hope that you found this insightful, and I hope you will join me every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. GoLive.com, Nancy's Riot on YouTube, and Nancy's Riot Podcast on Instagram, and Nancy's Riot on TikTok. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.